On the morning everything shattered, the world felt too bright for the kind of pain that hit Rowan Hale like a punch to the chest. He had been kneeling beside the bunk bed, tucking in the worn blanket his 5-year-old son, Milo, loved because it smelled like their old home, when his phone buzzed with a message that drained the blood from his face. The landlord had approved the new buyer's request to renovate the tiny duplex, and all tenants had 30 days to vacate. 30 days to uproot a child who already lost more than most adults ever would. 30 days before they'd have nowhere to go. Rowan sat back on his heels and covered his face with both hands, trying not to crumble in front of his sleeping son. For 2 years he had fought, jobs, bills, doctor visits, the quiet fear that he wasn't enough, and losing their home felt like the universe testing him again, asking how much one man could withstand. He whispered to himself that he would figure it out. He always did. But for the first time, he wasn't sure he believed it. If you're watching this on Ripple of Love, and you believe that hope, compassion, and second chances can change someone's world, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. That same afternoon, in a sun-flooded corner office high above the city, Seraphine Vale stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows with her arms wrapped tightly around herself, even though the room was warm. CEO. The word carried weight, expectation, and coldness, things she had learned to wear like armor. But today, the armor felt like glass ready to fracture. She had spent the morning reading a message she wished she never received. Her estranged father, the man who had raised her alone before ambition swallowed her whole, was in the hospital again. Heart failure complications. The doctor said he needed long-term care, monitoring, someone who could be there. Someone with time she didn't have. Someone with a heart she had buried under deadlines and board meetings. She pressed her forehead to the glass, letting the sun wash over her like an apology she didn't deserve. She was tired of the loneliness success had sharpened around her, tired of rooms filled with people who saw her title before her humanity. And most of all, tired of pretending she didn't miss the softness she once carried. Later that day, seeking a momentary escape, she found herself walking through a quiet suburban street where her car had broken down months ago. That was the day she met Rowan Hale, the soft-spoken single father who had offered her water, a toolkit, and a moment of genuine human warmth without knowing who she was. They had stayed in touch since then, their conversations gentle and unexpectedly grounding. But today, she wasn't visiting for lightness, she simply had nowhere else to breathe. She knocked on his door, and when he opened it, she saw exhaustion etched beneath his warm smile. His damp hair suggested he had just showered, though the stress in his eyes made her wonder if he ever truly rested. She apologized for dropping by unannounced, admitting she needed a quiet moment away from the world. Rowan stepped aside without hesitation, his home humble but alive with the warmth of sketches Milo had taped on the walls. As she sat at his small kitchen table with a cup of tea, Rowan joked lightly, half sarcasm, half truth, that if her life really felt that heavy, she could always move in. He laughed as he said it, and she laughed back, though something flickered in her gaze that he didn't understand at the time. It didn't feel like a joke to her. It felt like the universe placing a choice in her hands. That night, Rowan barely slept, staring at the eviction notice and wondering what kind of father he was to keep failing stability. Milo had lost his mother to a sudden aneurysm 2 years prior, and every day Rowan promised himself he'd create a safe world for his son, yet life kept tearing the ground from beneath them. At sunrise, Seraphine stood in her father's quiet hospital room, watching him sleep. He looked smaller than she remembered, fragile in a way that terrified her. The nurse explained the care plan, the cost, the constant supervision he'd need. Seraphine felt her chest tighten, not because of the money she had, but because she knew she couldn't give him the time or presence he deserved. But someone else could. As she drove back toward the suburbs, the morning sun washed over the homes like a clean slate. She replayed Rowan's joke in her mind, softer each time, settling somewhere deep inside her. Move in with me. Room. Family. Help. Connection. Words she had been starving for but too proud to ask. So she made a choice that shocked even herself. When Rowan opened his front door the next day, still groggy and emotionally drained, he froze. There Seraphine stood in the daylight rain, hair damp, a suitcase by her side, and a quiet determination softening her normally composed features. Her white dress clung to her from the rainstorm, and yet her posture carried a surprising vulnerability. She looked nothing like the powerful CEO the world feared, she looked like someone ready to lay her burdens down. She offered a small, almost shy smile and said she hoped there was room. Rowan's heart lurched. Confusion, disbelief, fear, hope, all tangled inside him. For a full heartbeat, neither moved. The screen door creaked slightly as the wind shifted, raindrops running down the railing behind her, the morning air thick with something unspoken. Seraphine stepped forward and told him she wasn't running away, she was choosing something she had forgotten she needed: people. Connection. A chance to help someone who had helped her without asking for anything. She explained about her father, the demands of her position, and how she realized that maybe two broken souls could offer each other what the world kept stealing: stability and companionship, even if temporary. Rowan felt something inside him break, years of battling alone, years of refusing help because he believed he wasn't allowed to need it. He looked at Milo, peeking shyly from behind him with wide, curious eyes. Then at Seraphine, whose shoulders trembled with the effort of being brave. He stepped aside. The first days were awkward, chaotic, strangely beautiful. Seraphine learned that Milo loved painting dinosaurs on anything he could reach, including her laptop bag. Rowan discovered that Seraphine had a surprisingly gentle laugh when Milo asked if CEOs could eat cereal for dinner. And somehow, the spaces between them filled with quiet healing neither had realized they were desperate for. She hired a full-time caregiver for her father, set up a nearby apartment for him, and visited him more than she ever had before. Rowan found a better job through one of her connections, stable hours that let him tuck Milo in every night. And in the home they now shared, they slowly began rebuilding themselves, not through romance but through presence, through being there in the small hours of morning when life feels too heavy and too tender. But the truth is, healing doesn't happen in straight lines. There were days Rowan questioned why someone like her would choose someone like him. Days Seraphine wondered if she deserved a home built on warmth rather than status. They hid their fears in quiet glances and unspoken worries, thinking vulnerability might ruin everything. Yet, every night when Milo insisted they all sit together for story time, those fears softened into something gentler: trust. Before the final emotional moment, I'd love viewers of Ripple of Love to comment what part of the story moved them the most. As autumn sunlight spilled through the blinds one morning, Rowan found Seraphine packing away paperwork, her expression soft instead of burdened. She looked at him with eyes that carried the weight of someone who had finally allowed herself to hope. He realized then that she hadn't just moved into his home, she had moved into the quiet spaces of his life where loneliness used to live. And for the first time, Rowan believed he wasn't failing Milo. He wasn't failing himself. Life had tested him, broken him, bent him, but here he stood, rebuilding something stronger than a home. A second chance shaped not by perfection but by two people brave enough to choose generosity over fear. If this story touched your heart, viewers of Ripple of Love, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to support more stories like this. In the end, as Rowan watched Seraphine laughing with Milo on the porch steps, sunlight catching in her hair, he felt something settle deep within him. Not certainty. Not promises. But something far more powerful, the belief that sometimes the universe doesn't push people together by accident, it gives broken souls the chance to help each other stand again. And in that moment, with gentle warmth blooming in his chest, Rowan knew one truth with absolute clarity. Sometimes second chances arrive as softly as a knock on the door, and as boldly as someone standing in the rain saying they hope there's room.